Thank you. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm really excited about this meeting because I think some exciting things are have been happening and are happening at the county level. And I'll just go ahead, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with Dave, but Commissioner Eggers was elected to the Pinellas County Board of County Commissions in November 2014. Previously, he served as the mayor of Dunedin, elected in March 2009, and then re-elected in 2012. Prior to becoming the mayor, he served as the city commissioner for Dunedin, elected in 2003, or re-elected in 2006. During his tenure as county commission, he continues to focus on fiscal accountability, economic development, transportation issues within the region, the county, regional water management, the consensus on enduring land availability for business expansion, light industrial land use and zoning, affordable housing, residential zoning, and stormwater and environmental needs. He is now the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. And I have to say, I kind of sympathize with you. I was on the Oldsmar City Council and when I was the mayor, and I was one of two males with three females, and you and Charlie are one of two males with five females. So you have trumped me for sure. So I was reading some of the comments, that went when you became the chairman of the county commission. So they're not going to let you forget that you are two of five. So
yeah, oh no, they did that in the very beginning, and they were gracious enough to let us be the chair and vice chair this year. So yeah, it's a good group of folks that we're working with, and we just have a pretty good time. We kind of get past the R&D stuff as much as we can, at least day to day, because there's just so much that really is nonpartisan about what we do. It's just, so we're trying hard to work together, and yeah, it's definitely been an interesting year. Everybody that's on the program this morning that you can see on the screen here had their own challenges this year. No, there's no question about it. We're no different. Our staff has been unbelievable. Our economic development staff, for instance, has continued to do the things that they do. I just got a report in for their kind of an annual update report, and the things that they kind of kept going on that front, but also they were very involved in the CARES program management too. So everybody was wearing like 2 and 3 hats, and so I know our staff was no different than many of the city staffs. I see Felicia on here, and Deb, and there's just, everybody was involved in so many things, just trying to make sure that we kind of kept everything going while trying to be careful and trying to, just a lot going on. So it just, you just can't imagine what our residents have been through. I mean, they have their own struggles, whether it's health or financial or it's just been quite a year. So I guess we're just blessed to be here. It's a beautiful day outside, and just lucky to be working and living in this area. And clearly, I just really briefly wanted to touch on some COVID stuff, a couple things going on at TDC. And then just kind of jump in a little bit to kind of an annual update, and then kind of this whole governance model of economic development in Pinellas County. And it's in kind of transition right now. So for the most part, just maybe 10 minutes on that kind of stuff, and then maybe kind of open it up for conversation. I was at your meeting a couple months ago and had somebody in talking about all the different demographics and the generational demographics. I found it fascinating, interesting. But what was really good about the meeting is there was a lot of give and take and a lot of good discussion. So just real quickly, Doug, is that all right with you? I just want to touch briefly on a couple of things. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think overall, I would say on the COVID front, there's optimism in the air for sure. We got, the numbers have dramatically come down, in my opinion, from January, February, and now into March. 7-day averages continue to drop. It's about 4 points. I think the 7-day rolling was about 4.6%. It was over 10% back in January, and the numbers continue to come down. Hospital bed, ICU bed capacities are good. We have plenty of room there. There are some COVID case people, but I think they said about 200 in the hospitals in our county, but certainly that's down from where it was. Vaccines, oh, I think that's probably the area that everybody remains optimistic about. We're getting more now. The supply issue has really been one of the problems, is that we haven't had that much vaccine. Over 65 and over, we're now over 50% have been vaccinated in Pinellas County, and that's a good thing. So, that kind of progress continues to be made. We've got 2 or 3 sites, one primary site down on Ulmerton Road, on East Bay, and then 2 or 3 other sites. We're working with the state closely in the Department of Health, but the state's rolled out many other avenues too, whether it's Publix, the hospitals, even some drugstores and that kind of thing. So there's many different avenues to get the vaccine out. And I think that's been met with a lot of optimism as well. And I would just say that at our last commission meeting, there seemed to be more commissioners interested in having a conversation in April, having the conversation in the first meeting or second meeting in April about some of some of the restrictions that we have in the county, and maybe starting to look at how do we start rolling some of those back. And of course, in the next 30 days, we don't have another meeting in April. The next 30 days, we'll see how those numbers change, how the number of vaccines are going up, and that kind of thing. But I think, we want to see our businesses doing well. We want to see them being safe. We want to see them, continue to make progress. We've obviously never closed any businesses down after the governor closed them down in April, opened them back up in May and June, and everybody's been working. They've had this little cloud of restrictions out there that we're hoping to roll back. We'll see how it goes. And again, we're going to have the discussion in April. We have to give official notification of a meeting to change the ordinance. So nothing is going to change in that meeting in April. But if things are looking really positive, then we'll move in a different direction. We did get a group of folks in the area that are working closely with us from the hospitals, from the universities, to develop some numbers that we can use as kind of metrics to make those decisions. They're very, very, very conservative. I suspect that they're more conservative than need be. But anyway, I feel like that we're moving in that right direction, and clearly all of us want to get out from under this as quickly as we can, but we want to be safe. Just real quickly, the TDC has developed a Rise to Shine campaign, which I thought was pretty cool. It's really about our visitors coming down, February, March, April, spring breakers coming down, and how to try to behave here. We were marketing heavily at families, not so much the college university kids, but they're going to come anyway, whether it's from other areas or from people in the Tampa Bay area. They're going to come to our beaches. So, but we've tried to provide some tools for our businesses to use to encourage people to participate in a kind of how to be safe while you're here, the masking, the distancing, and washing hands and stuff like that. But really, when you get out to the bars and stuff, it's just sit down, try not to to overload the bar areas, and try to behave ourselves. And we're learning more and more about this thing, so we're feeling better about at least the treatments and where we're heading. So overall, I think those are positive things that are going on. And so I just, if any questions about that before we move on, I think I didn't want to dwell too much on that, but I did want to at least talk briefly about, about that area. Anybody have any questions on that?
I think it's great that the numbers continue to go down, and I continue to hear, and you kind of alluded to it, I think we have realized that we lost our ability to have common sense there for a while. So I think that's something that we really just need to get back to, just using plain old common sense. So give people their space, quit getting in people's space, and things like that.
Well, it's just, we want everybody to kind of respect everybody else. And we get that people want to get rid of the mask. We understand that. But at the same time, they make it, they disavow the positive aspects of a mask. And there are a lot of people who say they're positive. There are some studies that come out and say they don't do much, but the negative approach to them really makes you question about how they're going to behave if we get rid of the mask. So we're trying to make sure that everybody at least is on that same page of accepting everybody and how they feel. If you want to wear a mask, that's fine. And right now we're keeping the mandates in place, and that discussion will be coming up. But just real quickly, I have just a couple numbers. Our group, our Pinellas, our ED group really was talking, did 5,389 business applications were approved in this past year. This is the Pinellas Cares program. $55 million awarded to local businesses, and then another 1.7 million in state bridge loans. So just, they were very busy and active trying to, and it started a certain way, and it expanded and got a little better. There were still some things that I wish we could have done more for the new businesses that were just opening up. But at the end of the day, I guess they felt that we needed to at least be able to survive an audit if we get through it. So everything seems to have been really, really positive in that regard. You guys, of course, are much more in touch with that. From an economic development standpoint, the area really is recovering faster than we thought. It's recovering faster than Pinellas actually is recovering faster than fastest in the region for the most part, and higher numbers in the state and higher numbers in around the country. So the area is doing well. I think it's probably a lot of the diversified economy that we have here, and you all are right in the hub of it there in Oldsmar, the manufacturing industry clearly supplementing and far outpacing the tourism and what they do for the county. Not to downplay the tourism and the importance of that, but I'm just saying we are so diverse here, and I think that's helped us recover a little better. I think they said that we ranked fourth, the Tampa Bay area ranked fourth as nationally in terms of new folks coming into the area. So the inflow, it's over close to 50,000 people this past year inflowing into the area for one reason or another. But there was I guess I just read that in that study that our economic development people put out, that the 2021 Millikan Institute of best performing cities named this region as the top region in the country in terms of job and wage growth and some technology factors, et cetera. But so really this area continues to be a good area. I remember going to a commercial real estate for women group, and they said that the economic professor that kept coming back every year would say, this area, if we ever get our government groups together on the same page with our universities and our businesses, but the governments themselves talking to each other better, that this area would probably be one of the top regions in the country as far as job opportunities and economic growth. And I'm not saying we're there by any stretch. I can tell you stories of regional cooperation and areas still to improve on. But in any event, I feel that that's going well too. I think our unemployment numbers are down to about 5% in the area. I'm just looking at the job loss this year was more than 90,000. We've added back about 70 since then. And it took about 4 years after the Great Depression that we had about 10 years ago to add back that number of jobs. So really we lost a lot of jobs quickly, and we've started to bring them back. So I think from a tourism standpoint, the numbers are starting to look better. From a job growth standpoint, the numbers are starting to look better. And overall, I think all of our government forecasts for this coming year are changing a little bit as we speak. So I'm at least optimistic that we're heading in the right direction. And I would just say that some of the things again that I was reading through our annual update here was that companies like Jabil, they continue to grow. Our employment sites program is continuing to be developed and communicated better. Our innovation center, our 45,000 square foot innovation center down in St. Petersburg is under design. There's still some work to be done to see if that's going to actually get off the ground this year. It's targeted to get off the ground this year, and that's going to be a 45,000 square foot building targeted, going after our target industries and helping new businesses get started in an incubator setting down there. So, anyway, just a really, there's some really good things that are going on. And I think one of the areas that we've been working on is our small business enterprise, which helps a lot of the smaller businesses in our area that might, they're women-owned businesses or, African-American, Hispanic businesses, whatever. But we have a program there that's really doing well. And it's very closely and tightly scrutinized. So when we give contracts out, these contractors are getting bonus points for adding these subcontractors to their bid. So what it's doing is our millions and millions and millions of dollars of capital that we're putting out into the community is starting to spread a little bit more. And frankly, we're really happy about that. Continues to be looked at though, because I still think we have a ways to go, but doing much better. And then I would just say real quickly that we are in the final stages of a total review of our development review services in our building department. The pieces are in place, but we really haven't been ranking very well in our business community. And Barry came in and he brought an outside group, an outside guy that he's used before, and he's just kind of pulling it apart and putting it back together and really starting to at least understand the culture changes that have to occur to be more entrepreneurial, even in those departments. We've got all the rules and regulations that we could ever possibly need, but just a change in attitude about how do we make something happen versus how do we not make something happen. We got that mastered. So I think things are starting to change, and I'm really happy and excited about that. And that, to me, is part of that grassroots economic development. If you can't get that right, then a lot of the things you say are just talk, and so we have to be able to help our businesses that are doing that. So I really feel good about that as well. But one of the things that we've kind of started to run, I'll finish up with this last comment, and then we can kind of open it up for conversation. I didn't want to talk too long, but is that, regionally, we've been talking about economic development and what that means. And all I know is that I want economic development to be lockstep with our businesses. And for the most part, our businesses, they don't know county lines. I mean, they don't really care about county lines, and our universities, they don't really care about county lines. I mean, they're just trying to get people trained up. They're trying to get people, in jobs. They're trying to help get folks, and it doesn't really matter where they're coming from. They're just trying to get them. So the better we do to act as one in a region is really important. So there's some efforts going on, and I got to tell you, it's easier said than done to have this region. Again, getting back to that commercial real estate for women conference that I keep going to. If we start working together, it's going to be amazing. So our Tampa Bay partnership has worked with our universities and trying to come up with an approach. And I really think it's a healthy approach. And then when you start thinking in that global sense, as far as the region goes, what can we do in Pinellas County to govern our processes better? And frankly, I think that's kind of what, and I think Barry and I've had a lot of these conversations. We've got a lot of tools in our economic development. We've got some great professionals that are very entrepreneurial in their thinking and their approach. Again, how do we work better with our business community? How do we work better with our government partners to make sure that we're doing what we can do to help our businesses grow, have more jobs, help our residents get higher paying jobs and more jobs? And so there's a governance process to that. And I know that our folks have reached out to City of Oldsmar. Felicia, I know you're going to be very involved in that interview process. And the next 60 days, we're trying to get a lot of information together. I think there'll be a presentation to the county commission in May or June about what we're hearing, what we find. But we're going to involve your Chamber of Commerce as well. We're going to involve some of our target industries that are out there that are part of our system. We're going to talk to a couple of chambers. We're going to talk to a couple of those types of businesses to figure out and make sure that we have a governance model for economic development that is fluid, that is responsive, that works with our education system, because if it doesn't, we're not training our people right for our businesses, and that's critical. So, and there's just a whole lot of those pieces that are going to be in place. And it's a complicated thing that's not going to be solved in the next 2 or 3 months. But what we're trying to do is get those partners to the table to help us formulate a different, maybe an improved approach to the governance of economic development in Pinellas County. Because if we're going to be strong and at the table regionally, we better make sure that we have that together. And it's not that we're that far off, but I think we can do a better job of working with our partners. I know we can. I've talked to a lot of different cities that have reached out for some help, and it gets a little awkward at times, but I think we can be better. So I'm really looking forward to those next 2 months. And Felicia, thank you for agreeing to step in. Maybe you could even speak to your early perspective about what you see happening on that front.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Kevin, and I am speaking with the consultant next week. But I'm excited about the movement to a governance model for economic development countywide, because I think that will through collaboration from a new structure, I think that the process will be more effective.
Ultimately, if we're not talking to each other, and it should just be as easy as picking up a phone and making a couple of calls and getting folks mobilized to help a small business with an issue. Help, you hear about a business that is having trouble, and maybe not even financial trouble. They're growing, but they can't find land, or they can't find and they need help, and we need to keep them here. Not that if they go to Pasco or to Hillsborough, that our folks that are working there aren't still going to be able to work there. But when they relocate, that's not a good thing, because sometimes it's relocating out of the area. So we got to make sure that they like every once in a while, a city like Oldsmar will steal a business from Dunedin. I know that.
Big one.
Yeah, but they could have gone to Atlanta. And
you're right.
So that wasn't. Yeah, go ahead.
And Dave, I think it's really helpful too in Oldsmar, just our relationship with the chamber, I think is extremely helpful to increase our capacity, so I think that model works, and that, right, the regional trying to keep people in Pinellas County. So maybe, we're seeing businesses now that are growing out of their footprint. And so if we can't accommodate them in Oldsmar, we don't want them to move to Pasco or somewhere else, Atlanta.
Yeah, it's really tough. And we had a case yesterday, and again, it's still in the process, and it's going to still come before the county commission, but it's a countywide plan change that somebody wanted to do. And it's, again, still in the process, but it's an example of holding on to our industrial lands, or employment designation land, because we lose those to other things, then we can't respond to those businesses. And when you look at dollars per square foot, and there may be a realtor online here, but I am as well in the commercial area. But if you look at that dollar per square foot number on industrial land, it's always about at least half or a third of, say, multifamily land pricing, or even much lower than that in some of our downtowns that have gotten very expensive. So if you change the zoning, you get more entitlement, more value to the owner perhaps, but we lose that property for manufacturing expansion or the like. So this one case that's being looked at, they want to put affordable housing, which we need. They want to put other things on the property, but it's zoned industrial right now that hasn't been used for some time. But times are different today. Environmental cleanup, you have some extra tools to help with the expansion of that. So, there's a real push. There's a real tug of war going on. I mean, it was kind of a split vote, but we voted not to do it. Now they'll go to the county commission and see how the county commission thinks about it. But holding on to that is really important. And you guys, the reason I think Oldsmar was kind of chosen is because, 70% of your community is residential, where like in Dunedin, it's 95% residential and 5% commercial. You guys have a huge investment in infrastructure and land in the commercial sector, manufacturing, et cetera. And as you said, Felicia, I think your relationship with your chamber is very unique also. And I think that input's going to be invaluable, I think, because others can learn from it throughout the county. We've got some other industrial areas. We've got a lot of other chambers. So there's a lot of ways to improve that model. I didn't know if there was, I thought I heard somebody say that.
Dave, this is Jerry. I've loved this conversation. I know Felicia knows why I love it. But you know, like you said, it's very complex economic development, but you've talked about the thing I looked at is four things. It's proper use of land, labor, capital, and technology. And that's the things that you drilled down on in every area. That's what economic development is a proper blend of all those four characteristics. And you really drilled down into it. So I think it sounds to me like you got a great start for your governance model.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the pieces are there. We have, like I said, our economic development department is just really have consummate professionals there that, and again, you know, I've been trying to, the idea in our building department, our development review services is to bring a more entrepreneurial spirit of can do kind of thing, even though we know that there are restrictions in what can happen. We don't have to worry about that. Our economic development, those folks are definitely entrepreneurial and they are energetic folks. And I'm really excited about that. And clearly we have some great chambers in the area and businesses that are, so we're not reinventing anything. I think it's just making sure that we have the ability to mobilize quickly to help with problems that lead to better jobs, better opportunities, making sure that, you know, somebody says, I've got 5 acres of land, but I need about 7.5 to really accommodate my 10, 20-year plan. Well, we get beyond that tomorrow. I mean, they can hire a broker, you know, commercial brokers and help them out with that. But in some of these larger companies, they have their own real estate department. But a lot of the small businesses that I think we need to target our thought process a lot on need our assistance, and we can work, you know, hand to glove with them, and whether it's training or education or, you know, whatever, but also on the front of making sure they have enough space to do what they need to do. So anyway, looking forward to that. Felicia, thank you again for being a part of that group. But I don't really have anything else. I just really wanted to touch on I feel pretty optimistic about where we are right now going into this year. If you'd gone a year ago, clearly all the indicators were down, and we were running into the stuff that was this COVID stuff, and the governor basically shut us down in April. You know, you can always say in hindsight, was that the right move? I don't know. But at the time, I think it was absolutely we didn't know what we didn't know. And but I think today things are in a much better place, and we certainly are cautiously optimistic. You know, you hear about all the variants out there and all those, and it keeps us on our toes. But I do think, you know, things are heading in the right direction, not only on the health front, but also on the business front. We're recovering much faster. Our tourism is much better than we ever would have imagined a year ago. So anyway, I'll open it up. We can have discussion however you want to do it, Doug.
Sure, and you know, I'm excited, and Dave, you and I have talked, and Felicia and I have talked. I'm really excited about, you and I had a conversation the other day about kind of the reshaping of the economic development component with the county. And, you know, because truth be told, whenever you say government, one of the first things you think of and try and get things done is red tape. And I think that kind of this new look at the economic development and the relationship between, you know, the county government and businesses, and to be more efficient, I think is huge. And to be able to actually get things done, I kind of equate it to, there's so many rules and regulations. It's kind of like an old house. And when you start to peel back the paint, you don't realize how many layers of paint that are on that wall until you start to peel it back. And I think that's kind of the rules and regulations. And, you know, you often hear people want to try and apply for grants or funding, and it's like, it's just not worth the effort to try and get $10,000, you know, why should I spend $20,000 to get $10,000? And I don't think it needs to be that way. And hopefully this new kind of direction will, like you said, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think it's a breath of fresh air. Uh-oh, I see Chuck waving over there.
I don't know if Chuck's waving at us or is waving at his employees in his office there, but
or maybe he's got a cramp. Maybe he has a cramp.
My lights go off for lack of activity.
Oh. Yours or the room's?
The room.
I never know with Chuck exactly what's going on. Maybe he's doing aerobics. I'm not exactly sure. And Dave, to one of your points, you had talked about, the rate that people are moving into the state of Florida. I just pulled off the February residential numbers, and it still continues to be incredible. The values of homes in the area are up 21% year to date. The inventory is down 58%. So, it continues to grow. I don't know, how long it will grow. Obviously, you're in the commercial, I'm in the residential, and so, I mean, trying to find places for these people is, which I think gets back to your point about people wanting to maximize vacant land and get the most they can because they see, this opportunity. You see all the apartment complexes that are popping up all over the place, up and down US 19, because that's the highest and best and biggest financial return for these businesses. Don't know that it's necessarily the best for the community long-term, but it is what it is.
Well,
People are trying to make a buck.
But to that point, Doug, it's like those apartments that are being built, and it is a question because you have infrastructure issues, traffic, and all of that. But it's just amazing when you see all of those being built and they're being filled pretty quickly at market rates. And it gets back to the issues, the challenges that we have in this county, and why all of us talking together and working together really makes a difference. It's a redevelopment county. So we are taking lands that have already been built on and doing something different with them. And we're trying to balance, if I'm talking to the folks at the Sierra Club, they want us to take the land and make it, environmental lands. And if I talk to people from FAST, which is an organization that is all focused on affordable housing, and they want everything to be affordable housing. And then, of course, the business side, we got to have those industrial lands protected. So you have a real tug of war that goes on, and every single part, they're all critical. Otherwise, we're going to have folks continuing to move to Pasco and living and then commuting. And eventually, they get a business there and they stay there. And then we have to recruit more to get people here. So we got to have people living here. Getting these businesses to focus on affordable housing piece to their overall development is not easy to do, but at least we now have these developers that are actually looking at affordable housing development that is commingled with regular housing development, whether it's fee simple or rental housing. So that's continuing to work. We just did our first, I guess we had four deals that we did back in January. Of course, we got criticized that not enough of it's 80% AMI and under. It's probably more in the 80 to 100%. I argue that, well, those are our police, there are teachers, there are nurses, and those folks can be at 60% AMI or 110%. They still need a place to live. And so we got to do it. But I don't want to give up our light industrial, because for me, that's where the jobs and the number of jobs gets protected or goes up, and the salary levels go up. That's what we want, so that we shift all of our people further on that scale from 80%. They're 80% AMI. Now they're at 95 or 110%. So it is a tough challenge, no question about it. But I do think that we've got some good pieces in place to try to maximize that. But that apartment growth, it tells you that there's a real need, but all of the yellow lights go off too, because we got to make sure that we can handle the people moving around, and there's other demands on land. Back to your guy a couple months ago that spoke about the millennials and post millennials, and that whole discussion about wanting to live at home or work at home, not live at home, work at home, instead of traveling. So what does that mean to our roads and the congestion in the morning? And I know that that's lighter than it has been, although with all the tourism here now, you wonder, the roads are still pretty crowded if you're trying to get around on 19 at work, going home at night, or up East Lake Road or any of these roads. But you wonder what that impact is going to be as well. So we'll see.
It's interesting you say that, and you kind of bring up a question, but to the point of the gentleman that we had to talk about the post-millennials, and we also recently had Whit Blanton on from Forward Pinellas, and we talked about that very thing and referenced the previous speaker about, you know, the transportation and the people working at home. He says you're still seeing the amount of traffic, but it's not concentrated necessarily at, you know, 7:30 in the morning. It's kind of spread a little bit more out. So same amount of cars, but over maybe a 2-hour window instead of a 1-hour window, which leads to my question, Dave. And you had talked about this. So of course, Pinellas County has 24 cities. You know, you got Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco County, and you said people don't really care about the borders. And to your point about regionalization, what are you seeing? This has always been our Achilles heel when it comes to attracting other businesses from outside the areas. What are you seeing about regional transportation? Are we making any progress on that? I know we continue to slowly. I think we just got passed by a snail, but move forward.
Well, and Doug, I assume when you say regional transportation, being in the being at Forward Pinellas, transportation really has to do with roadways as well. So right. The roadway piece, I really feel that we have made huge strides in that. We have a MPOs, if people are aware of that, they're the ones that kind of prioritize the state and federal money for these projects around the Tampa Bay area. But we have one in Pinellas, there's one in Hillsborough, there's one in Pasco. And we've created a regional group called the TMA that meets every 3 months that works at prioritizing projects for the region. And I remember that day about 2 years ago, we were working, and I was in the MPO, and I made the motion that our number one project would be the State Road 60 I-275 interchange over in Tampa. And that was our board here, our MPO and Pinellas voted unanimously to support that. Pasco, Hillsborough, they all got on board with that same project, and it got awarded. It's about a $1.4 billion project. It's going to be on the heels of the new span, the Howard Franklin being built. I know it got pushed back a little because of revenues. It didn't get pushed out. It just got pushed back a couple of years. It may come back again, but it was a big thing, and it was because the challenge here was you all don't speak with one voice. Mm-hmm. And so we decided there's some people that would like to have a mega MPO for the area. And we kind of like the separate MPOs because it involves people that represent Oldsmar, Safety Harbor, and Tarpon Springs on that board. Cliff Mers from Safety Harbor is your representative right now. If you go to that mega board, you're going to lose that. So the other way of doing it is we created that TMA. So from a transportation roadway standpoint, that was a huge victory, and I think that's the direction that we're going. We're still fighting some of that regional stuff. I mean, we think that's the way to have the conversation. We get pushback a little bit from some folks over in Hillsborough, but I think we're all moving in that same direction, and we're doing really well in the Tampa Bay waterfront. Even though we have challenges there, we work as a region. So I think from those perspectives, it's a good thing. The transit issue is a different animal. And there's some real challenges going on right now to T-BARTA, which was supposed to be, or is supposed to be one of the regional focuses for transit. With that one voice, it has the ability to attract federal dollars better. But that the existence and the success is being challenged by some folks at the state as to whether it's really needed or not. And I think that they're taking a good hard look at themselves to make sure that they're indeed providing value added to the two transit groups. So, the two transit groups have services that cross boundaries, but they really can't plan as a region. They only plan within Hillsborough, they plan within Pinellas. T-BARTA was supposed to be the unifying piece. We're looking at that Wesley Chapel to almost St. Pete Beach transit system. It's kind of a transit combination. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it. We're moving it forward in that direction. It's a way to utilize, a way to connect those areas. Not that you're ever going to travel the whole distance, but the pieces will be in place that you can use the shoulder to travel past traffic, but you can only go 15 miles an hour faster than the existing traffic anyway. It's just I have a little difficulty with that. I get the HOV, the dedicated lanes. That makes sense to me. I'd love to be in a car flying by at 60, 70 miles an hour where everybody's stuck in traffic. That would make me feel good about doing that, right? About using the HOV, paying a toll or something. But I think that little piece is still being worked through. But you're talking about different legs. You're in Wesley Chapel to the university area, university to downtown, downtown to the airport, airport to Gateway, Gateway to St. Pete, St. Pete to St. Pete Beach. That whole area has a different legs and different, but you want to have that spine that connects all of it. So I understand that thought process. And it is a slow work in progress. But I think, at the county, we're planning the office building for the new office building it'll be probably built way after I'm out of office, maybe 5 years down, 6, 7, 8 years down the road. But that whole planning about the dynamics that we spoke about, how much do we need and where's it going to be, and that kind of conversation is still in play also with transit. And but those elements, there's little pieces that we're working on, access to beaches, and ideas are coming up on that. We're talking about a intermodal system in downtown Clearwater to connect the rest of the transit to beach access transit. And there's different pieces that are being worked on, but it does seem to take forever, Doug, back to your original question.
I think we are obviously slowly starting to sing from the same sheet music, but I remember having a conversation probably 6, 8 years ago. You probably had the same one with the then Senator Latvala about funding for the area. His passion was the airport to the beaches. And when you would talk to him about funding in general for the area, he would say the consensus in Tallahassee is, we don't know what the hell we want down there. And so because we were all singing from different sheet music and singing in different keys, and to your point, I think we're slowly starting to realize that, because we were getting beat out on funding by Miami-Dade County continuously. The money was going down there.
Yeah, you would think that there would be, you could think in two ways: one, within your county, and two, in the region. And you wouldn't just be, so myopic that you could only think of things going on within your county. You could do both. And just even on the TMA, we have 3 representatives from Pasco, 3 from Hillsborough, 3 from Pinellas. And there's a difference. I mean, there's little tensions and edges, and the Hillsborough folks seem to be looking internally to their county more than externally, except long-term projects like utilizing the rail line at some point and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a real challenge. And the funding piece that Hillsborough County went through, they got shot down by the Supreme Court. Now what to do with it? They're probably going to bring a referendum back again. And I know Pinellas County was having that discussion about having a referendum last November. Of course, COVID changed all that. You're not going to talk about increasing those kinds of fees and taxes on people that are either out of work or struggling or worried about things. And so you kind of got away from that. I'm not sure that we're going to be healthy enough in that sense to have that discussion for 2022, but I certainly would think in 2024 that I could see a place for that kind of conversation. But again, you're talking 3 years away. So 3.5 years away to talk about getting a local funding source. And that would be, adding another penny for transit mobility. And that could be all kinds of stuff, not just buses. It could be some type of rail, could be some type of gondola system across, beach access. It could be HOV lanes, there could be a lot of things involved in that. But I think that conversation and the importance of it is definitely on everybody's plate today versus say 10 years ago. But, things just move slowly. And in some ways, being methodical and being a little bit more deliberate saves you. I don't have to be the first on the block to do something. I can see others do it and learn from it, and it can be better. On the other hand, we don't want to be doing the same conversation 20 years from now, probably. So the young people, I'm told, the young people like transit. They like to be independent of their cars. So again, if our average age group in Pinellas County government is 52 years old. So there's opportunities for young people to come into government work and to move up the ladder more quickly than normal. But you guess what? They want to work from home. They want to move around in buses, and you're trying to attract that talent to your county for companies, that kind of talent to this county for our government. So, and those are the pieces that they want to see happening. If not in place, they want to see happening. So again, I think those are all elements that we have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave, we started a conversation. We started conversation talking about a really innovative model, governance model for economic development. As you go into transportation, my observation on T-BARTA, and correct me if I'm wrong, was always this. When T-BARTA was formed, it was given a lot of responsibility, but it was given no authority. And they really can't do anything except talk.
Yeah. Jerry, I mean, I can tell you, I looked right over at Commissioner Long in a meeting yesterday. I said, I'm going to get a scowl when I ask you this question. So I asked her the question. I said, can you give me an elevator speech about the mission and value added that T-BARTA brings to the area? I have too many people asking me, what the hell do they do? And I'm serious. So she said, instead of a scowl, she said, thank you for that question. As only Commissioner Long can do. She pivoted. And but then she went on to explain what she felt the real value was to it, some of which is getting federal funding to the area with you have one voice for the region. That's one value to it. But also having the conversations and bridging gaps between HART and the PSTA is another one. There are elements there. And she was talking through it. I said, well, I wanted an elevator speech. But I mean, there's senators that in our state senators are challenging the existence of it. And so I do think, and there was some comments made by the chair of T-BARTA that wondered about the real value. So I think there's some real, we got to be doing things. To your point, Jerry, talking is just, we do a lot of talking in government. And I think when we start implementing things, people start believing, but it's also where we really help and augment the efforts that are going on by our business community. Implementation, talk. It just drives me nuts. But
I think the responsibilities of T-BARTA were pretty clearly, clearly defined, but they just never had the authority to make people work together. No authority.
Felicia's got a question, but I remember mentioning to Commissioner Seal probably 5 or 6 years ago as well, to Jerry's point that T-BARTA is a mouth with no teeth, and that's a very sensitive subject to Commissioner Seal, I know, and I think that's kind of Jerry's point. I know they have some funding and things like that, but still, again, as you say, Commissioner, it's a lot of talk. Felicia, you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I actually I wanted to talk a little bit about that employment sites program. So I see that today is the official deadline to take applications, but I think that we've been very successful at getting businesses here to put in those first steps. So do you have any idea of where it's going now?
You're talking about the economic development piece of the penny?
Yes.
Yeah, funding.
I'll just be totally candid. I'm still trying to wrap my arms around it. Not how you calculate what we have, not how you can envision what it could be used for, but again, I think to your point, it's how do we get companies to understand where that piece, what it plays in the role of their own development or their own construction. And again, the idea of those funds being available to help make things happen, as opposed to, no, it doesn't meet a standard. And I'll be, that's one of the areas that we are, and Barry Burton, our county administrator, I have talked about, that's an area that we have to, I don't mean step up as in we don't have it, but just better communicate the opportunity to our businesses. And I know you all are trying to be a translator for it, but it becomes sometimes more difficult. It's like, but it can really make a difference to our small businesses.
Yeah.
And I think we need to see specific examples pulled together as to how it can help a business expand. We have 50,000 foot space. I need 75,000. I need a 25,000 foot expansion. But it's based on future. And so they have relationship with banks, and banks can come to the table. And then you have equity requirements, and there's a gap. And we can help make it happen. But again, it needs to be a little more fluid, I think. At least I need to understand it better myself so I can explain it better now. Like,
yeah. And for that, we would offer our assistance with that. We've had conversations with several local businesses. So if that's helpful in any way, as the county's going down the line, I think we may have a unique perspective for trying to shepherd people through the process.
And thank you. And Felicia, I think that there might be a place in that conversation the next month or so, the one that you're going to have, to interject any of those types of thoughts in there too, because I think it just adds to the many dimensions that we need to simultaneously address. I don't want to be addressing this one and then in 3 or 4 months to address the next one. We can try to address many at the same time and getting to a place quicker and sooner and more effectively, I think would. So yeah, please, I know you will, but just
we would definitely offer to help. I definitely, from our perspective, I can see the challenges. So anything that we can do to provide some kind of technical assistance from our experience, we want to help. And then the other thing I wanted to share with the group was that Commissioner Eggers was talking about, the population and the jobs ratio. So Doug had recently reached out to Pinellas County Economic Development to help update our statistics. So I have a couple of PowerPoint slides that I just felt like I should share. So I'm gonna share those real fast.
Hey, Felicia, that'll upgrade the class of this whole presentation by bringing that. So thank you.
Well, if Doug will let me, it says.
I just let you share. Yeah, I got you. You sprung that on me. I didn't know.
Can I now share, Doug?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. So again, this came from Pinellas County. So hang on, because I thought it was, it made me happy to see it. So can you guys see my screen?
Yep, there it is.
That's our buddy Ben Friedman, huh?
Yep.
So Ben Friedman helped us. He's a genius. I think he's just a genius. But
absolutely one of the best researchers I know.
So you can see this is our 2020 demographics, but Oldsmar, we're the youngest median age in Pinellas County. So St. Pete, we're right below St. Pete, but I thought that was interesting, from Commissioner Eggers' remark about our demographics and the age. So you can see Safety Harbor and Clearwater and Tarpon and Dunedin. And then the other slide I think that is helpful is this one. And so that's our population and our, the population. Ben can only pull by zip code. He can't pull by our municipal boundary. Right. So everybody's population is askewed. And so, but, in Oldsmar, we have a very high jobs to population ratio, which is what communities dream of.
Yep.
And then we
Wow.
also have the highest average earnings in all of North Pinellas.
And that average earning number being more universal to Pinellas County is definitely a target. We got a ways to go to get there, but yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty graphic.
Is that
Yeah.
household, is
And-
that household income?
No, that's average earnings per job ratio. So that's per job in Pinellas County
Job,
or in Oldsmar. But that's because we have a high number of professional technical jobs because of our manufacturing sector. It
Right,
all comes down to when Commissioner Eggers was saying, the 70% residential to 30% business, but it's our high concentration of technical professional manufacturing in particular. So I just thought Doug just got that information. He hadn't seen that I had updated the PowerPoint yet, but Doug, I updated the PowerPoint.
Yeah, and it continues to grow. We have the 2018 numbers and then the 2020 numbers, and things continue to inch up throughout the county, but we're leading the way.
And the other really interesting thing is we're still, I think, and this again maybe could help, is that I still think we're one of the few export economies in Pinellas.
Yeah.
So we actually export here more than we consume, which makes us unique.
Awesome.
Now,
Thank
Doug,
you.
I can't figure out how to unshare my screen now.
all these technical
Uh,
challenges.
I don't know how to do that either, so we'll just leave it sit there because
You guys can
it's
just,
showcasing Oldsmar, so we'll just leave it like that. So. Yeah. So anything else, Dave, that you want to finish? I did have a quick question. I don't know if there's a quick answer to it. You were talking about industrial areas, and what's the status of Airco? Is there any plans for that, the old Airco golf course? Because that's one of the biggest industrial pieces in the county.
Yeah, obviously it has its challenges from from elevation standpoint. There's going to be a lot of land, a lot of land elevation to be done because just of where it's located. There's a piece that's going to be associated with the airport, and there'll be a piece that is more associated with businesses. And the last thing I heard I haven't heard anything on it recently, was that there is interest from businesses in that area, and there are discussions going on, but I couldn't tell you from I'm not sitting at the table, so I don't really have a feel for, how real it is. There's a lot of infrastructure work that needs to be done to make it real, to make it business receptive, because if I'm a business looking for something right now, you're talking probably 5 years away before I can, have a shop there. You got to get water, sewer, elevation, land, and so there's a lot of and I do know that kind of conversation of what we need to be doing is going on, but it's not ready yet by any stretch.
I didn't mean to pop that on you, but yeah,
That's
you're right.
right.
People are looking for more, like, we have somebody that's looking for, 40,000 square feet in Oldsmar, and we have a building that hopefully would be done, at least frame wise in December. So those are the kind of timeframes that I think people are looking for to expand. To your point earlier, I have 50,000, I need 70,000, but I need it within a year, not 5 years from now.
Well, hey, Doug, when we have one of those businesses that needs to grow, don't forget there's the Coca-Cola plant over in Dunedin. Maybe we can steal a business back to Dunedin from Oldsmar.
Let me Google Dunedin and see if I can remember where. Yeah. Any other questions? Chuck, how are your lights doing over there, Chuck? You doing okay?
Keeping them on.
Good. Good.
Yeah, Doug, thank you for the invite. I like to be a part of your meeting anyway, so it's great to be a part of it today. And I just would say overall, I'm really very optimistic and positive about where things are heading right now, and we just keep working together. I think I'm really excited about this next 2 or 3 month effort that's going on this front, and I think there's some real good opportunities, and the area is recovering pretty much faster than we thought. So that's a positive optimism.
Well, just know that we're here to work with the
Yep.
county on whatever we can. So Felicia, got any closing comments? I see how you got out of your screen share. You just got off if all else fails, Control Alt Delete.
Look at
I
Deb.
just left the meeting and came back, so that worked.
Yep.
Yeah, hey, Doug, look at Deb's map there, putting Oldsmar
Yeah.
right front and center.
Yep. Dunedin's way over here, somewhere. So, well, thanks you so much, Dave. I appreciate it. I recorded this and I'm going to edit it, and I know you got a full day ahead of you, so
Yep.
we really appreciate it. And maybe Felicia and I can work on updating the rest of that slideshow and make a presentation down the road to share some of that, because it really is interesting how the numbers work out. So,
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a terrific day.
Bye-bye.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you all.